Welcome back. So as you can see, I'm all dressed up for discussing things with the hockey gods, hockey related. And this is totally serious on April the 1st here, people. This is totally completely it's important people take this subject matter seriously on April the 1st. So the Vancouver Canucks have clinched a playoff spot. They have 100 points. So I was talking to the hockey gods today. I'm like, all right, I need to plan some parade routes. I need to plan a parade route for Vancouver. I need one for Boston. I need one for Dallas. And the hockey gods are like, whoa, you can't cheer for more than one team. So, like, I had to discuss it with them. And so finally, they're like, all right, you can cheer for those teams. It's weird, but you can cheer for those teams, but it's going to extract a hefty price. So I'm going to let people know that I apologize. I've been like, all right, we'll go ahead and we'll pay the price. And there's a reason these logos are over here, and we'll get to it. So obviously, Vancouver, Boston, Dallas. That's the order I'd like to see them win the cup in. But the hockey gods are like, not so fast. So because I negotiated this too late, it's too late for the 2024 Stanley Cup, which is going back to Las Vegas. They've assured me that Las Vegas is the rightful Stanley Cup champion in 2024 and that it's all above board, which I thought was weird because I didn't ask them. So the fact they just volunteered that is weird. Now, what that means is in 2025, I get a Stanley Cup for the Dallas Stars, which is great. I'm not happy about the parade route, though. The NHL is going to have the parade route in Houston. So if you want to watch the Dallas Stanley Cup parade, you're going to have to go to Houston. They see this as a way to really increase visibility for the league. They may also put the parade in Salt Lake City. That depends on a lot of things, of course. It looks like it's going to be Houston. The hockey gods have told me that Salt Lake City's kind of the backup in case things don't work out. And I really hope Stars fans don't have to go to Utah to watch their cup parade because that'd be weird. So to extract the price for that in 2026, the Stanley Cup will go back to Tampa Bay. Now, Tampa Bay's 2026 win, they're only going to be $38.5 million above the salary cap, which by that time, it's going to depend on whether or not there was an eclipse during that calendar year. The salary cap's going to become very convoluted over the next couple of years. There's going to be a lot of exceptions, exceptionalism, and oddly enough, colonialism. But we could talk about that a whole other time. But Tampa Bay wins in 2026 so that I get a Stanley Cup for Boston in 2027. And the parade route, I think, is going to be pretty bold. The parade route is going to be in Toronto. Now, I've been assured that Toronto getting a parade route in 2027 is Boston's way of saying, hey, no hard feelings. We hope you get one soon. So that's the plan with the Boston Bruins at this point. Their Stanley Cup parade is going to go through the city of Toronto, which brings us to 2028. Pittsburgh's going to win one in 2028. Yes, Crosby will still be there. Malkin, Letang, they'll all still be there. Marc-Andre Fleury will come back in 2028, and he will help them achieve victory in 2028. Now, I asked them about the Canucks, and they said, all right, here's the problem. Canada doesn't win Stanley Cups. You know this. And I'm like, look, I get it. Like, all right, the only way that you can get a Stanley Cup back in Canada is if the team that last won it wins it again. So in 2029, the Montreal Canadiens will break the Canada curse and win the Stanley Cup. Nick Suzuki's going to have a hat trick in the deciding game, and after that, everybody's going to agree he's still overpaid. But the 2029 Cup for Montreal will signify that the jinx is over. It's done. The Cup's back in Canada, which is why in 2030 it's going to Chicago, where Bedard will raise his first Stanley Cup, and it's going to be glorious. It's going to be wonderful for him. It'll be great for hockey, and so it'll be so good that Chicago will win it again in 2031. This is where things get a little bit dodgy because like they win back-to-back Stanley Cups, so Chicago with that, and it's not something they were able to do in the previous era, of course. So then Bedard's got like some Hall of Fame credentials there, and in 2032 it will go back to the Tampa Bay Lightning, who oddly enough, because of the way that their entry level deals are going to work, they're actually going to be $18.5 million below the salary cap ceiling. In fact, they're going to have to acquire Anders Nilsson again to get to the cap floor. So for Tampa Bay, this is going to be great. They're going to have another Stanley Cup in 2032. And you would think, all right, so the Canucks get it in 2033? Not yet. 2033, it actually goes to the LA Kings. The LA Kings will win it. They'll have 16 straight victories. Half of them will be by shutout. The other half will be in overtime, preferably 2-1, but maybe 3-2. And then there'll be one oddity where they win in overtime 4-2. It's a weird glitch. It's a weird error. So Canada defeats the Cup curse. Then the question becomes, so does Vancouver or Toronto win it in 2034? Well, the good news is that in 2034 it will be in Vancouver. The parade route will actually be in Burnaby because the city of Vancouver, as we know it, will cease to exist with the Canucks winning the Stanley Cup in 2034. Now, people will say, is that because of a riot? No, there's going to be this giant vortex that opens up, and just nothing, not even light, will escape it. So, like, the city of Vancouver, as we know it, is the price we pay for the Stanley Cup, which I'm okay with. So then the question becomes, all right, so 2035, you've got a Toronto logo up. Does it go back to Toronto? No, it goes back to Vegas first in 2035. And then, when I asked them, I said, all right, so now is it Vancouver's turn? They're like, well, no, we'll have it in 2036 in Boston again. I'm like, all right, so is the parade route going to be in Boston this time? And their answer was, so for Toronto, it's going to be the first one. And for that second Stanley Cup parade, they're actually going to have it in Hartford because Hartford needs a parade. They're not going to give them a team, but they're going to give them a parade, which is not really the same thing at all. So then it's 2037 for the Leafs, not so fast. In order for another Canadian team to win a Stanley Cup, Montreal has to win it again. So Montreal wins it in 2037. Those are the rules. Which means in 2038 it goes back to Pittsburgh because there's a certain period of time where the Stanley Cup can be outside of Pittsburgh, and 2038 is where you reach that. So yes, if you're a Toronto fan, by what the hockey gods have told me, in 2039, Toronto will win the Stanley Cup. So that's the Stanley Cup mapped out from 2024 until 2039, according to what the hockey gods have told me. Now, this seems like it's optimistic for me, but when you think about it, even in this scenario, I couldn't bring myself to saying, yeah, all the cups are going to go to teams I root for, because of course not. And I'm also stating it'll be another 10 years on this board. So with that being said, I hope everybody has a wonderful April the 1st. It's really important to have a good April the 1st. And if you can go to a game dressed up like this, you might get on TV. You might have some questions asked, and you might get checked a couple of times by security. First on your way in, and second time just because we should check them again. So at any rate, there you go. So hopefully people forgive me for cheering for 3 teams. They never will. It's never going to be a thing. And you just roll with it. All right, I hope everybody has a wonderful April the 1st, and I will talk to you again soon.